What's going on, everybody? This is Al from PlaybookGamer.com, and in this video, we're going to do a deep dive into the Veer and Shoot alternate playbook in College Football 25. So a lot of gamers tend to overlook the alternate playbooks. They are a great way to learn a scheme, especially in its purest form. So when it comes to the Veer and Shoot, it's all about the gun wide formations, and every single wide formation in this game is in this playbook, so you're not missing out on anything there. So if you're going to try to run the Veer and Shoot the Art Briles way, you know, he's the one who kind of started all this, then this is the best playbook to go with. Now, there are other Veer and Shoot playbooks like the Tennessee playbook, South Florida, and there are a few other ones that pretty much have all these formations. So once you get a hold of what this offense is all about, and this is what this video is all about, then you can use this information and pick whatever playbook you need to out of it. So since this is a shop video, what this means is I'm going to go into way more detail than what I usually do over on the channel when I just kind of gloss over an entire playbook. We're going to go through all the formations, concepts, play types, personnel. We're also going to go look at the sub packages. We're also going to look at plays by player. Some of them are good, some of them are not, in terms of how you can make use of them. So hopefully by the end of the video, you'll have an amazing idea of what the Veer and Shoot playbook and scheme is all about. So I'm a Tennessee fan, and of course, I watched Josh Heupel's offense ever since he's been here. It's a lot of fun to watch, and I have a good idea of kind of what it's all about and what he's trying to do with it. And thankfully, this game does a good job of kind of putting all that together with the concepts and the formations and such. So speaking of, let's start off with the formation. So as I said at the beginning, the Veer and Shoot is all about these gun wide formations. I'm going to go ahead and select one. I'm going to go to gun wide itself. This is the most typical formation in the game, and we're just going to look at what that looks like. So you're just splitting out those wide receivers super wide. Now, if you had the ball on the left hash, your outside receivers will still be outside of those numbers. And if you're on the right hash, it's still no different. But again, you're trying to simplify the numbers in the box so you can run the ball better. So a lot of people think this offense is a passing offense. It is not. Tennessee runs the ball more than they throw it. We're trying to simplify the numbers in the box so we can get easy runs. But then when the defense cheats up, brings a safety down or whatever, then we can go over the top with a lot of those choice routes and things of that nature. So between the choice routes, the wide splits, and the hurry up, no huddle, which I'll kind of talk a little bit about in this video as well, then you just got the makings of the Veer and Shoot offense. All right, so let's go back into the formations. So this playbook, as I said, I'm going to go back to the front of this. As I said, the bulk of this playbook is going to be shotgun. It's all the gun wide formations that are in here. Then we got an I formation. We got a power I. Those are situational. We will cover those later. Let's start off with the most important stuff, which is the shotgun formations. Let's look at the packages. So this very first formation is wide doubles weak. This is an 11 personnel formation. You got one back and one tight end. And let's look at the sub packages. So I really want to focus on sub packages, especially in these types of videos, because it really matters in this type of offense when you do a lot of hurry up, no huddle type stuff. You need to be like in the same personnel groupings, and you're going to hear me say the word personnel a lot in this video. So again, this is an 11 personnel formation, and believe it or not, this offense is very 11 personnel heavy. Like 90% of the time, Josh Heupel likes to have 3 wide receivers and a tight end out there. So this could be one of your base formations, and it's got 21 plays in it with a 2x2 look, 2 receivers on one side and a tight end and a wide receiver on the other. So let's talk about the sub packages. So you may not use the packages for this particular formation because it's already an 11 personnel, but let's see what it has anyway. Starting off, we got a halfback wideout. It puts your top halfback over to the right side. Then we got a halfback slot. It puts your top halfback in the slot. Then we got wide receiver strong. It pretty much puts flips a couple wide receivers around more or less, and then we have, it technically puts your Z receiver in the slot. So if you go back, I'm going to go back to this sub package, or let me go back to the original. So our top 3 receivers is number 5. He's our number 1 guy. Our number 2 guy is number 1. And then we got a slot receiver number 3. So kind of think of that 5, 1, and 3 in terms of the depth chart. So when you come back over here, wide receiver strong, it puts your number 2 receiver in the slot. Then we got wide receiver swap. Then we got tight end slot. So if you need 2 tight ends in this formation, you can do that with this sub package. Then we got strong slot, which it puts your top receiver in the slot. Then it goes spell halfback. That's just a backup halfback. sub package. Backup QB, we know what that is. And now we're back to the normal. So now you kind of have an idea of some of the players that you can move around. So I'm going to cover the plays and the concepts more closely when we get to the concept section. So I'm going to kind of gloss over what we have in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now, when it comes to the Veer and Shoot, it's like the same dozen or so concepts over and over again. You're going to hear and see the word choice, deep choice, slot choice. You're going to see inside zone a lot. This is very RPO heavy, so you're going to see a lot of RPOs. You're also going to see a lot of those little hitches. So you keep on going. We got a lot of play action in here. Guess what? Deep choice, another RPO with a bunch of hitches. Then we got option. We got another RPO, play action. It's kind of the same thing over and over again. It's run, option, play action, deep choice, hitches, and curls. And that's pretty much what you see right here. So kind of expect to see the same stuff over and over again throughout the rest of these formations. So let's talk about the next one. Let's go to gun wide trips weak. So this is the sister version of this formation. You're just moving your slot over to the right side. So let's look at its sub packages. We have, starting off, we got the backup QB, backup halfback. You can put the fullback in here. So the fullback position is not super important in this offense, but if you happen to have a true fullback in your depth chart, you could put him at halfback. Then you got wide receiver swap. It just swaps your two outside receivers. Wide receiver 1 slot, very self-explanatory. Put your top receiver in the slot. Wide receiver 2 slot. Then we got tight end sub. Then that just puts your backup tight end in there. Then we got tight end slot. So if you need your 2 tight ends out there, you can do that there. Then we're back to the normal. Okay, so this one's got 18 plays. You look here, guess what? It's more runs, a lot of pulling, and we're going to talk about the run gap scheme type stuff here in a little bit in the concept section. But guess what? PA, we'll look at the word slot choice, inside zone, curls, deep choice, sweep, things like that. So that's one of the positives of this type of playbook. You're going to see the same handful of concepts in every single one of these formations. So don't feel like you're losing out if you mess up and pick the wrong formation or something. A lot of this stuff is going to be in here. Look, read option, speed option, another play action play. Then we got stick, Y corner, shock H option, some oddball stuff that sometimes is normally not in this type of offense. All right, so that's that formation. So these two formations work together. Now let's talk about probably the more common 11 personnel formations, and that is the slot version. So wide slot left weak. Then we got wide slot right. Then we got the weak version of that. So these 4 formations are probably going to be your go-to 11 personnel formations in your offense. So we just talked about these first 2 formations right here. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you, I've watched every single down of the Josh Heupel offense while at Tennessee. We rarely have the tight end on the line. That doesn't mean you can't use these formations. By all means, use them. If you like the plays in them, go for it. But I'm just here to tell you, when it comes to 11 personnel, this is where it's at. This formation, the weak version of that, the right version, and the right weak version of that. Go with these 4 formations if you're going to be very hardcore 11 personnel. Okay, so let's go back to our first formation here. Is the wide slot left. We got 18 plays. Let's look at its sub packages. We got backup QB, halfback sub, wide receiver flip. It flips the 2 outside guys. Wide receiver 1 slot, wide receiver 2 slot, halfback slot, put your top halfback in the slot. Then we got halfback wideout, which it puts this time your top halfback over on the left side. Then we got a halfback fullback sub, so it puts your fullback in at halfback. Then we got tight end slot, so if you need your 2 tight ends out there, you can do that. And we're going to get more of the personnel things and audibles and such on the personnel side, so don't worry about that. We will cover it. Tight end wideout, it puts your top tight end over on the far left side, so that is a unique sub package. If you got an amazing tight end and you got a really good few plays that it just gets that X receiver, the far left one, the ball a lot, you may want to use this sub package. Then we got tight end sub, it just puts your backup tight end in there, and now we're back to the normal default sub package. So look what we see here. Dive, deep choice, inside zone, read option, choice deep, play action, curl flats. Again, curls and hitches. I mean, this is a perfect example. Curl flats right there. We got 2 curls. Look at PA power Y pop. It's play action, but look, I'm seeing a bunch of curls and hitches. You're going to see that so much in this type of offense. We got lead zone weak read, a lot of pulling action, read option, RPO, with a screen. Then we got, guess what? PA post. Guess what? curls, more curls. Then we got RPOs, we got a speed option, we got a slip screen, which is a kind of an oddball play for this offense. So you got 18 plays there. So this is another thing about this type of playbook. There's a lot of plays in each one of these formations for the most part. Anytime you can get 18 plus, that's a pretty important formation with a lot of good stuff in it. So let's look at the weak version of this formation. This one's got 21 plays. Let's look at the sub packages. We got backup QB, halfback sub, wide receiver flip, wide receiver 1 slot, 2 slot, halfback wide out, halfback fullback sub, tight end slot, and then tight end wide out, and then tight end sub. So we've seen these same sub packages over and over again, which is good. There's consistency with this scheme. So let's go look at the plays. So this one's got a little bit of interesting stuff. So if you've noticed, we haven't really seen hardly any pre-snap motion. Well, this is one of the reasons why some of these formations work so well or so popular, like with Heupel. He liked to use a lot of these plays in like a drive starter. I just like the 2022 season. That's when we just had like a magical offensive year. He always had that tight end doing that little exit motion that you see with all three. So all three of these plays work together. You got a fake screen, you got an RPO, and then you got like a deep shot play on top of that. So again, if you want to use this as a drive starter, either of these three, by all means, go for it. If you really want to get that Josh Heupel offense feel to it, this is a great place to start with these three plays right here. You keep on going. Guess what? Inside zone split, a counter, PA choice deep, dart read option, play action curls, then another RPO with a hitch, and then an RPO with a bubble and a hitch. Then we got curls. Then we got a QB slot option, little wide receiver triple option look. There's a couple of them in this playbook. Then we got an RPO read flat. Guess what? With a backside hitch. Play action. More read option. Then we got a wide receiver screen, a simple screen. Then we got a shovel option. That's another triple option play. Then we got slants. Then we got speed option. Then we got a vertical tight end cross. So again, we're just seeing these same things over and over again. Now let's go look at wide slot right. This time you're moving your slot receiver over to the right side. Let's look at the sub packages. And again, look at here, 11 personnel, but it's got 24 plays in it. Let's look at the sub packages. We got backup QB, halfback sub, wide receiver flip, 1 slot, 2 slot, halfback wide out, halfback fullback sub, tight end slot, tight end wide out, tight end sub. So it's got the same sub packages as this one, and pretty much as this one, and pretty much as, you know, all 4 of these. But let's go right here. Let's look at the plays. Counter Y read option, PA slot choice, halfback ISO, PA deep choice, RPOs, read options, RPOs, play action, RPO, vertical, slants, inside zone, speed option. I'm here to tell you it's the same 10 plays over and over and over again with a few extra things added into it. Okay, so 24 plays. I have a good feeling you're going to use this formation a lot along with these few others we've just covered. So let's look at the weak version of that. We got 18 plays here. It's sub packages. We got a backup QB, halfback sub, wide receiver flip, wide receiver 1 slot, 2 slot, halfback wide out, fullback sub, tight end slot, tight end wide out, and then tight end sub. The exact same packages we just saw. Let's look at the plays. We got a motion deep choice. So this is a nice little series. So normally, like in my free videos on the channel, I always like to look at the little mini schemes or the little series of plays that work really well together. And the pre-snap motion stuff is really good for that. And this is no different. Look at these 3 plays right here. We got a quote unquote deep choice, which we've seen 100 million times already. We got an RPO QB draw. Then we got a slot cross. But notice it's that same halfback doing that little motion swing pre-snap motion, which is pretty cool. Then we got more of it. We got motion ZM. We got a QB power, which is really cool. And then we got motion double pass, a little trick play on top of that. And then we keep on going. Slot choice, PA deep choice, inside zone split. Again, it's the same stuff. Curls, counter, RPO, slant, RPO, speed, Y read option, vertical, and then another shovel option. So again, trust me, when we get to the concept side, we're going to actually look at some of these plays a little more closely. All right, so those are the 11 personnel formations. So I'm really focusing on the personnel side. It's going to make a lot more sense when we get to the personnel section. But all of this stuff right here, all this 11 personnel, you're going to use quite a bit. Okay, now if you really want to spread things out, this is the rest of the formations that get your 4 skill guys on the line more spread out than usual. Starting off, this is a 10 personnel formation. By default, you got 4 wide receivers out there. Let's look at the sub packages. We got backup QB, backup halfback, power halfback, which I always found kind of odd. I don't know if in the depth chart where it's got like a power halfback section or a third down halfback, because that's just why I brought this up. Third down halfback. I know like in the Madden games, they got like a third down halfback on the depth chart. So this could probably be another same situation. But again, it's probably your best halfback's going to be in there anyways. Then we got fullback sub, tight end slot, tight end both slots. If you need two tight ends out there, if you really love this formation, you really want to spread everybody out, but you got two really good tight ends, use this sub package. Then we get to wide receiver 1 slot, 2 slot, and then we're back to the normal. So it's the same packages we've pretty much seen all the way through. Let's look at its play. So again, we got slot fades. Guess what? I see 2 little hitches right there. We got an RPO screen. We got a slot choice, curls, RPO, hitch, curl, quick base, deep choice, inside zone, play action, curls, dart read option, PA seam. Again, it's the same thing over and over and over again. And trust me, that's not a bad thing. All right, so let's look at the sister version of this formation. And that is, actually, we're going to go to like a cousin, more or less. Let's start here. It's wide offset. So the difference between these two formations is, one, your quarterback has the halfback a little bit behind him, like in a flex formation, kind of, sort of. The other thing is, by default, your tight end is in there. So if you don't want to fool with sub packages and you're very 11 personnel heavy, you like to use all these formations right here, but you still want to spread the defense out without using those sub packages, you may want to do the bulk of your spread work here because you got your number 1 tight end on the right slot, number 87. So let's look at its sub packages. We got backup QB, backup halfback, power halfback, third down halfback, fullback sub, tight end slot, tight end both slots, which is great. Then we got wide receiver 1 slot, 2 slot, and now we're back to the packages. So it's got the same sub packages as this formation. So let's look at its plays. Deep choice, slot choice, RPO, that is hitch base, hitch, inside zone, PA deep choice, read option, quick base. You got X rub under. That's like an oddball play. We don't see that one too often so far. RPO, wheelies. That's like old school run and shoot right there with the switch combos. Then we got 0-1 trap, slot fade, speed option, X replace, slants, all go, which is vertical. And then we got X deep choice. Okay. So now let's go look at wide stack. This is another cousin to this formation. But when you go to wide stack, we're now back to 10 personnel. 1 running back, 0 tight end, which means you got 4 wide receivers out there. And this is another way to get even your defense even more wide out. So I'm going to go spread this out. Look at this. I mean, you can't get more spread than that. It's incredible. And it doesn't have as many plays in it, but to be able to do something like this is just really great. All right, so let's back out. Let's just look at the sub packages and the plays as a whole. I'm going to back out. So let's look at the packages. We got backup QB, backup halfback, power halfback, third down halfback, fullback sub, tight end slot, tight end both slots. So it puts your 2 tight ends in the front on both sides. Then we got wide receiver swap. So it swaps the 2 top receivers. And then we got back to the normal one. So this one only has 12 plays. So the more funky you get with your formations, the less plays you're probably going to have. And this is a good example of it. It's very screen heavy. Like you look at RPO alert screen, fake screen go. We do got a deep choice. We got an inside zone. And we got levels. We got a screen. We got another screen, play action. Then we got more verticals. We got a draw. We haven't seen a draw yet. And we got a double end. So again, it's kind of limited what you could do, but it's just another weird formation to throw at the defense to really spread them out. Speaking of spread them out, let's look at wide bunch. So it's kind of like this, except you're just moving another receiver over to the right side. This is a very fun formation. It's very easy to like to read, get pre-snap reads. And again, we'll cover that in the concepts. But you go over to packages, you got backup QB, backup halfback, power halfback, third down halfback, fullback sub, tight end slot, wide receiver swap, wide receiver 1 slot, 2 slot, and now we're back to the normal. So the only thing it did not have was the 2 tight end look. So kind of keep that in mind. So you look at the plays here, curl, RPO, play action, RPO screen, inside zone, drive, RPO screen, and a slant, all go, or read option, halfback cross. Okay. So now let's look at wide trip. So this is the true sister formation to wide. Okay. You're just moving that slot receiver over to the other side. This one's got 18 plays and it's got this is a 10 personnel look with those 4 wide receivers. You look at its packages. We got backup QB, backup halfback, power halfback, third down halfback, fullback sub, tight end slot. Then we got tight end both slots. Now you get your 2 tight ends out there. Wide receiver swap, wide receiver 1 slot, 2 slot, and now we're back to the normal. So we got 18 plays, and we're seeing the same handful of words. Look, curl, RPO, slot choice, RPO hitches, deep choice, speed option. We got hitches, more PA deep choice, hitch meals. Then you got read option, play action. We got a swing. There's not too many swings in this playbook, but there's one there. We got another draw. All go. That's a verticals. Then we got a slot wheel, power read, which is just a read option with a pulling guard. Then we got wheel curls. Okay. Now we got 1 5-wide formation, and this is it. It's wide, 5 wide receiver. This is what you would use it for, but again, it's got some cool plays in it. There's 21 plays. That's a lot for a 5-wide set by default, but of course with sub packages we can move some dudes around. Speaking of, let's look at the packages. Halfback slot, so it puts your top halfback on the slot on the right side. Then we got wide receiver strong. It puts your top 2 receivers to one side. Then we got wide receiver swap. It swaps out the 2 outside guys. Tight end slot, if you need to put your tight end in there. Then we got regular. So regular is 11 personnel. So who's our number 1 halfback? Number 6, Dylan Sampson. Who's our number 1 tight end? 87. That's Kisselman. So that is 11 personnel if you use this, okay? Then we got backup QB. Then we got halfback weak slot. So it puts your top halfback over to the left side. So if you got a dynamic halfback like we do here, Dylan Sampson's incredible. You want him on the field pretty much at all times. You may want to use this sub package or any other sub package where it gets him in there. Then we back to the normal. So let's look at the plays. So there's not going to be as many runs, obviously, because you don't have anybody in the backfield except the quarterback. But let's look at a lot of the passing. But look at the words. Choice. A lot of curls. I'm like, all curl, all hitch. Then we got a QB blast, an actual run play. Then we got choice, deep choice, RPO, deep divide, slot screen. Guess what? The word choice is there again. Scissors, shot, cross dig, stick. We got a screen, another stick, concept, another verticals, a screen, and a quick slants. Okay. So that is your entire shotgun formation. So I went through, I glossed them over because when we get to the concepts, the playbook, the offense, the scheme is going to make a lot more sense when we think in terms of concepts. But I really just wanted to point out what the formations are in the shotgun and the personnel groupings, which we're going to get to next. But we got to look at a couple other formations first. We got 2 more to look at. So we got I formation tight. There's 12 plays here. So here's what you do. So like with the Veer and shoot offense, like with what Heupel does, whenever he needs to get a couple of yards, sometimes he will use this formation. He'll even use a little power I. I don't know if I've ever seen him use goal line, but all 3 of these formations accomplish the same thing. You're just getting everybody up there to pick up a couple of yards. Think 3rd and short, your 4th and short, or if you just really want to freak out a defense, do it on 1st and 10. They wouldn't expect it, especially if we're playing against a human opponent. But let's look at the I formation tight. This is a 22 personnel formation. It's got a halfback, a fullback. Those are your 2 backs, and you got 2 tight ends. But you got to pay attention here. It's a fullback formation. So if you don't have a true fullback, then you probably don't need to be using this formation. So kind of keep that in mind. Or if you got a good tight end that can play a little fullback, then that's all well and good. So you got 12 plays. Let's look at the packages. We got dual halfback. So if you got your number 2 halfback is better than your fullback, you probably be using this one more. Then we got jumbo backfield. So it puts I guess your top 2 fullbacks in there. I think that's what that does. Then we got tight end swap. It just swaps to 2 tight ends. Then we got spell halfback, which it just puts your backup halfback in there. Then we got heavy, which what it does is it puts one of your offensive linemen over at the right tight end spot. Look, there's number 66. He is technically a right tackle, but they got him playing tight end. So if you really need to get that extra yard or 2, you might as well put a tackle in there instead of one of your smaller tight ends. Then we got backup QB, running back swap. You're just swapping your halfbacks at that point. Then we got dual halfback swap. Then we back to the normal. So you look at the 12 plays here. It's going to be a lot of run, play, action. You got PA halfback wheel, halfback lead, a counter. You got a stretch. You got an RPO, oddly enough, and it has a glance route to a tight end, which is pretty cool. Fullback dive, fullback toss, and then down here we got a goal line, a power O, and a PA power O. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now, the Veer and shoot offense is very gap run heavy. Gap meaning just pulling linemen of some sort. So I'm gonna go ahead and select this one. We're going to go up, and again, power O, you're pulling linemen of some sort. If you want to do that, if you want to stick to a zone running scheme, you can definitely do that. But doing basic power O is just excellent stuff. I mean, really cool. Then you just throw play action on top of that. So if you like the eye tight formation, I suggest you do that along with in conjunction with PA Power O, as you see right there. That's just like a flood concept. Or if you're a zone running scheme, you got a halfback lead where nobody's pulling for you. Then you got PA halfback wheel on top of that. Those two plays work together. So I'm going to call something here. Looks like we got a flood concept, kind of get around. Wide open. No, he wasn't wide open. Going to get intercepted. Either way, good. Just kind of keep that in mind. Those two plays work together. But 90% of the time, if you're going to use this formation, you're going to do it just to run the ball, just to pick up a yard or two. Okay. So you're going to do the same thing with power I. There's only 6 plays here, and it's technically, they probably call this like a 23 personnel. If I had to guess, it may be 32. Either way, you look at its sub packages. We got twin halfbacks, backup QB, backup halfback, tight end flip, fullback flip. So that tells me it's a 32 personnel formation. So you got 2 fullbacks in there. So I don't know if you'll ever use this again, unless you're tight end. So 0 and 19 in the Tennessee depth chart, they're tight ends by default. So I don't know if they got good ratings as a fullback or not. But anyway, if you got a couple fullbacks or your tight ends are good enough, yeah, you can do that as well. Then you got jumbo. It puts like all your tight ends in there. Then you got back to your normal. So you look at the 6 plays, you know what you're going to do here with power I. You're going to run the ball, and you may do a little play action, and that's all that is here. I'm going to call just another basic power O. Again, gap scheme. This is what the offense is all about, all that gap scheme run stuff. But anyway, just really cool stuff. Kind of keep that in mind. Pick one. If you like both, by all means, go for it. And of course, you can always use the goal line. These same 12 plays are pretty much in every playbook except for a handful. They only got like 9 of them. I think there's like a couple of playbooks that have like a goal line heavy formation, kind of like, I don't know, it's just a weird looking formation. But for this one, it's the same 12 plays you've seen over and over again in all the other playbooks. I'm not going to cover them here. And you got your 3 Hail Marys, of course. So again, use one of these 3, 2 of the 3, or all 3, whichever one fits your personnel the best. I'm a big personnel guy in terms of getting your best players out there. You just got to keep that in mind when it comes to 3rd and 4th and short. Do something right here because you don't have any big formations in the shotgun side of things. Okay, so that is the formation. So now let's talk about personnel and like audibles and such. I'm going to go over to personnel. So this offense is pretty much built around 2 personnel groupings, starting off 11 personnel. Again, what I said at the beginning, Josh Heupel especially, he's an 11 personnel guy. He always likes to have a tight end out there somewhere, whether he's spread out or whatever. So you look through here, all those 11 personnel formations we looked at. There's wide offset, and then there's Hail Mary. But what's interesting is I'm going to go ahead and select a play, and let's just select something random here. So audible. So this is a hurry up, no huddle offense. I'm going to go ahead and hit square, and this brings up our audible. So what it's going to do is when I shuffle through all of the audibles, it's going to shift to other formations that have the same personnel. So this is by default the formation we picked, gun wide slot rake. It's 11 personnel. Well, if you look at gun wide offset, that is technically 11 personnel by default. Then you got wide doubles weak, wide trips weak, so on and so forth. So again, it's all based around 11 personnel. Now, if you're going to use this offense at all, you got to incorporate the no huddle. In the end, that's what really makes this offense go. It's just very tough for defenses to keep up with when you do the no huddle. So I bring all that up because I'm going to back out of here, and we're going to fool around with a couple of formations. I'm going to go over to gun wide. How about we just go, let's go back to formation. Let's go gun wide. So this is a 4 wide set, but if I do the sub packages, I'm going to go over to my tight end. This should work. Tight end slot. Okay, so now we got the tight end in there. Now it means it's 11 personnel. Okay, now I'm going to go over to an 11 personnel formation. Let's select a play. Let's do the audibles. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I hope this works. I'm going to go over here. And let's see, it did not pull up. So like in the game, it's supposed to pull up. I've seen it done before, but whenever you have it set up, well, okay, perfect example. Let's back out. This is a better way to look at it. I'm going to go back to gun wide. There's gun wide with our tight end in there. Okay, so now it's 11 personnel. I got to do it from there. It just now occurred to me. I'm going to go with select slot fades. We'll just select something random here. And I'm going to hit the square button. We're going to bring up our audible. So now our tight end is in there. Now, guess what? There's gun wide offset. Look, gun wide, slot right, weak. That's an 11 personnel formation, all because we changed that one sub package to put the tight end in there. Now all of these are available to us. All the 11 personnel formations. This is why I emphasize the personnel side of things. You kind of have to understand that, especially, again, if you're going to do the no huddle. You don't have to do no huddle. This is just basic audibles, but you still got all the 11 personnel formations in there. So if I'm going to back out, so if that particular season in your offense, it's nothing but 11 personnel for you, like your fourth receiver is awful, you can go to all these 4 wide looks, and then you can go into your tight end sub packages, or you go to the sub pack and put the tight end slot right there. Now it'll be available to you in the audible. So I hope all that makes sense. I'm going to back out. We're going to put this one back to where it was. Let me go back to wide and put this one back to where it was. Okay, so now you kind of get the idea of the whole 4 of the audible personnel side of things. So again, 11 personnel is the base of the offense. Keep that in mind. Unless your 4th best receiver is better than your top tight end, then use these instead. Okay, because if you notice in these formations where we actually had a tight end in there by default, there is no such thing as a 4 wide receiver sub packages. So if you got your top 4 wide receivers, you're going to use them most of the time. You got to stick with these formations right here: wide, stack, trips, wide, and so on and so forth. Okay, hopefully, again, all that made sense. The personnel groupings, sub packages, and audibles, all that works together. Then you got your 23, that's just your goal line. Your 32 is your tight and your QB kneel. Your 22 is that eye tight. And we got your 5 wide receiver look. I would honestly keep it as such, unless you're 11 personnel heavy. Go to that regular sub package. Once you select the play here, I'm going to go back to it. Halfback, let's say regular. I'm going to select that. We'll select a play. We'll call something random. We'll go here. And now guess what? Oh, it's still not. Oh, this must be a glitch. That's odd. So I got my halfback and my tight end in there, but it does not bring up the 11 personnel formations. That must just be a glitch in the game. Either way, you may want to keep this as a 5 wide formation then. I just learned something interesting. So I'm going to back out. I'm going to change this back over to its default sub packages. All right, so that is your sub packages. Again, decide. It's based off where your current roster is. Is your top 11 guys the 11 personnel, or is it 10? If you got good tight end and you got a good 4th wide receiver, just use both. Pretty simple. All right, now let's talk about some actual concepts and whatnot. So I've been harping on formations and personnel for the last 30 minutes. Let's talk about actual plays and such. So when you go over here to the concept side, you look at the play count. So this playbook isn't very big in terms of play count. It probably has like 2 to 250 plays or so. We got 32 basic runs. Those are your basic handoffs, no option at all. It's either a toss or a handoff of some sort, or just a QB run. Then we got 78 options. So you got to remember, all the RPOs and options are right here. And as you can tell, the bulk of your run game, which of course your RPOs, the bulk of them is right here compared to your run. So it's up to you if you're going to do any type of RPOs or whatnot. You know, it's just up to you how you want to go about doing that. But that should tell you that the option side of things seems to be more important than the basic run side of things. Okay, we got only 20 quick passes. We got 67 mediums and only 35 deeps. And we got it says a few play actions and some screens, but we actually know there's a lot more than that, which we'll cover a little bit later. But let's start off the very top. Let's go to the runs. Okay, so there are 2 types of run schemes. Most offenses do one or the other. It's either zone running or gap running. So zone running is like inside zone. Any type of zone means nobody is pulling for you on the line. So inside zone split, that's still a zone run because that's a tight end doing a movement for you. Otherwise, it's all your offensive linemen just pushing forward. So I suggest, and this is my opinion, I think the zone running schemes work a little bit better and easier than the gap schemes. Doesn't mean that the gap scheme stuff doesn't work. I'm just saying these are just simpler to work with. So I'm going to go here, and we got 7 inside zones, which actually isn't a whole lot. But I'm going to go with gun wide inside zone, and we're going to go up against a dime. I'm going to just call, we'll do that. We'll just call something random here. Okay, so inside zone is very simple. This is the base of your running game if you're going to go with a zone running, okay? Just don't have to worry about anybody pulling for you. You just find a crease up somewhere, and then you're off and running, something like this, okay? Now you can get a really good gain out of that, okay? So this is where it starts. But this is just a basic run. This isn't RPO, which we'll get to a little bit later. So you got 7 of these. Then if you want to stick to the zone running, you can go over to ISO, as you could tell, it's all from like your bigger formation, so you don't ever have to use these unless you want to. It just depends on the situation. Your third and short and fourth and short. But when to stick to the zone running, we got inside zone first, then we got a little outside zone, but we only got 2 plays. It's just not a lot. Lead zone weak and halfback sweep. I'm going to call this sweep. We'll go up against something random here. And now you're just going off the tackle. But again, it's all about those 5 offensive linemen just pushing ahead, no pulling at all. Do something like that. Can you get up the field? And just get whatever yards you can. But again, if you notice here, there are just not many plays for outside zone, and that is because you are stretching. I'm going to call this play again. You are stretching the defense so much, there's no need to go outside the tackle box. So you go watch any of the Tennessee offenses over the last several years. Like 90% of their runs are between the tackles. That's why there are so few outside run plays in this one. Even your pulling stuff is going to be inside the tackles. But that's your inside zone, or just your zone running scheme in general, between inside zone and whatever little outside zone you have. We also got a little draw. We got 3 plays, not a lot. The reason why we don't have much draw is because there's not a lot of true drop back in this playbook. I don't know if you noticed that as we was going through the formations. But there just isn't a whole lot. It's a lot of play action based, a lot of RPO based. So you're not going to use a ton of draw, but it's in here if you need it, but it's still inside zone. Now, I think the draws work pretty well in this game. I'm going to go ahead and, now we're outnumbered in the box, so this may not work, but either way, I think these work pretty well if you can just kind of get used to it. Okay. Again, it's just a zone run scheme, but it just kind of comes down if you're going to do any of the zone stuff in general, but you only got 3 to play with. All right, so now let's talk about I guess the more preferred way to run your run scheme, and that's the gap scheme. That's pulling linemen and such. Again, this doesn't work, I don't think, as smoothly, but it's still, I think it's solid in this game. So let's start off with power. I want to start here. Power is just a pulling lineman, usually a pulling guard, and it's just your running back running in that direction. Look at every one of these. You got 8 of them, and it's all just a pulling lineman of some sort. I'm going to go and just call it halfback base from here. We'll go up against a random nickel. And you just got to be patient with the blocking and pick up the yards, but you just follow that guard, and then you're just off and running at that point. I'm going to call this again. I'm going to have to cut up. There we go. Cut up right there if you need to. You're just reading blocks, but you're just getting an extra blocker on that same side that you're running to. So you got 8 plays there. Okay, now let's talk about the sister to this, which is counter. You got 6 plays. Counter Y, counter Y, counter. And then you notice half of these are from the bigger formations. You'll probably be doing just more of these 3 than anything else. So I'm going to call it basic counter Y here. We'll go up against a random nickel. So this is going to the opposite side. But you got 2 blockers in this one. A counter Y means you're pulling the tight end as well, along with that pulling guard. I'm going to call this one more time. Let's see if we can sneak in something here. That's not too bad. Not too bad at all. So again, it's up to you how you want to go about doing this. Are you going to be a zone running team or a gap? You could do both. There's nothing wrong with that. Josh Heupel does both, but he loves the gap scheme. I'll just go ahead and tell you that. So now that we've covered, and just make sure I didn't miss anything, I think I covered it. Okay, well, so we got some sweeps. We got 4 of them to be exact. So this is more pulling action. This is gap scheme. You got buck sweep, then you got some bigger formations there. So basic buck sweep is your 2 guards pulling for you. Okay, but it's still, it's just halfback power on steroids. Those 2 guards pulling. This may be your lone outside run play, because notice how outside heavy it is. Like you have to go to the outside here. Just very seldom will you cut up. But again, we're still outside the tackle box. Okay, so again, definitely add this to your gap scheme. Power, counter, and then buck sweep. All 3 of those work together. So we've talked about the basic runs, but you may not use the basic runs a whole lot because we have so much option and RPO stuff that have that stuff built into it. Let's go here. Let's do the RPOs first. So this offense is very RPO heavy. Look at the very beginning. RPO alert. We got 25 plays here. Ridiculous amount. Then you go over to RPO read. We got 10 plays there. We don't have any RPO. What's the other one? RPO bubble, I guess, or I forgot what the third one is. Either way, we got RPO alert. So if you notice, we got a lot of RPO hitches. RPO hitch, a hitch, a screen, a hitch, a screen, a hitch. Don't worry so much about the routes themselves, other than you're seeing the same ones over and over again. RPO alert hitches and a outside screen, outside screen. It's very simplistic RPO stuff when it comes to the bubbles or the hitches and screens and whatnot. But what I want to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and select this one over here on the left, RPO power alert hitches. Actually, I'm going to back out. We're going to call something different. I'm going to back out. So the reason why I brought up the gap and zone running scheme type stuff is you got to pay attention to the running blocking here. So look at the one here on the far left. RPO power alert hitches. The word power, that's a gap scheme. You got a pulling guard. If you're going to be a gap heavy run team, use that one instead of RPO alert hitch. RPO alert hitch, the one in the middle, this is zone running. Now, I'm not even reading anything at this point. I'm just pointing out that is zone running right there. Again, no pulling lineman at all. However, if you go to one of these other ones we looked at, it's got a pulling lineman. That's gap scheme. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to call like RPO power alert bubble. Okay. We'll call something random there. And then notice we got a pulling guard right there. So I suggest you focus on which ones you like the most, which scheme you're rolling with on that one. So you notice through here, I'm seeing a gap, and a gap. I see a zone, and a zone. I'm seeing gap, gap. I'm seeing gap. I'm seeing zone, gap. I'm seeing zone, gap. So look, okay, this is another perfect example. Look at these three plays right here. The two outside ones in particular. RPO alert wide receiver screen. That's zone running. It looks exactly like the one here on the far right, except we got a pulling guard. That's gap scheme. So hopefully you're getting the idea of what I'm talking about here. You pick one or the other, or again, you just do both, which one you like the most. But if you're a gap scheme guy, go with RPO trap alert screens, and then you're just rolling with it after that. We're going to get a pretty good gain here, I think. Yeah, we have the numbers in the box. So that's another thing I just wanted to point out. Focus on what the linemen are doing with these RPOs. Okay. And the same with the RPO rate. So you're going to notice, so this game, it gets kind of funky how they categorize their RPOs. Some of these are in both of these categories, in alert and read, but you're still kind of seeing the same thing. You're seeing like bubbles and flats and whatnot. At least they kind of organize it a little bit better here. So when it comes to these reads, notice most of the bubble reads are in this one, or those Y flats. It's still kind of like a bubble in a sense when you're the guy who's supposed to catch the ball is going to the outside towards the sideline. But then you got RPO wide receiver screen. There's nothing read about that, even though that's what they call it. Either way, don't worry so much about how they categorize them. Just understand what the run scheme is doing and what the receivers are doing. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to go back to alert. And the next thing you got to think about is how RPOs work in general. I'm going to go ahead and what's a good one to call? Let's go with this RPO power alert bubble. 11 personnel, I'm going to go up against something like this. So when it comes to RPOs, you got two things to think about. Like for this one, for example, you got three options here. You can either go to the bubble on the left, you can go to the hitch on the right, or it could be a go too. So some people are a little antsy about the option routes, and we're going to cover a little bit more than like the deep choice stuff. Or you could run the ball. So normally what I like to do with RPOs, it's very simple for me. First, read the amount of players that are in the box. So what we got here, what I call the box, the defenders that are around the offensive lineman. I see 4 defensive linemen, and I see 2 linebackers. We got 6 guys blocking for us. 5 offensive linemen and a tight end. We've got the numbers there. Also, whenever I see 2 safeties that far back, I'm just going to hand the ball off. Now, it's quite possible that slot corner over here on the left that is defending that bubble may come and crash in. If he does, then yeah, you can go to the bubble. But we got the numbers up the middle, and I want easy yards. This whole offense is about easy yards. So I'm just going to hand the ball off, and then I'm going to get up the field and do my business. Okay, so let's do that again, but I think we're called a random defense. So look at the perfect example here. So now I'm seeing 7 guys in the box, and we only have 7 guys to block for, or 6 guys to block for us. We're outnumbered. Do not hand the ball off. You're probably going to get beat badly. You're probably going to lose some yardage. Okay, but what else do we have? Well, we got the bubble on the left side. It's possible that corner may crash in, but look over there on the far right. I think we can hit that hitch over there. We can try this. And look at there. Easy 5 yards. That's what we're looking for. Okay, let's do it again. So I'm seeing 6 guys in the box, but those safeties are pretty low. But it's still a too high safety look. I'm also seeing on the right side a hitch and a curl, or a curl go. The thing with the option route, you don't know if that quarter or that receiver is going to go on a go route. And besides, go routes off RPOs, you got to time it just perfectly. I'm not very good at them, so I'm not going to pretend like I know how to call those perfectly. So in my eyes, I see two high safeties. So it's either going to be a running play, or I'm going to hand the ball off to the halfback, or I'm going to go to the bubble. So in this case, I'm probably going to read that slot corner. So let's read that slot corner, see if we need to make a change here. Nope, he stuck with the slot receiver, so I'm just going to hand the ball off. Okay. So I just kind of want to bring that up. This is what the bulk of these RPOs are, because if you notice the rest of these RPOs, they're hitches. The glance routes, I'm not that great at those, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm great, like I'm going to explain them perfectly. It's hard for me to read at times, but at least you got a back. So like this RPO base alert looky, the one over here on the left, I'm going to call that one. Okay. So normally what I would do here, your first read is always read the box and read the safeties. We got 7 guys in the box and a 1 high safety. I'm not going to hand the ball off. We're going to get destroyed right there. So I can either go to the screen on the right, or I can try to hit that slant. I'm going to try to hit the slant, and we're going to get decent yards out of that. We had the leverage and everything, so that worked out okay. Again, your first read is the box, the safeties, and then look outward. The box is loaded down. They got 7 guys with a 1 high safety. I'm not going to hand the ball off, which means I'm either going to go to the outside of either one. I'm like, I can probably try the hitch. The only thing I worry about the hitch is we're still outnumbered, because we only got 1 guy that can block that outside receiver, and we got 2 guys he's got to block. We don't have the numbers there. Again, it's just a math problem here. So in this case, I still may just go to the slant, and hopefully you can get some decent yards out of it. We still got basic 5 out of that, okay? It's just very common sense type stuff. So whenever you're dealing with all these RPOs, it doesn't matter which ones you like. Some of them have window dressing, like those that went the pre-snap motion with exit RPO there, or you got those slot fades. Like the slot fades, I prefer the ones that doesn't have an option route like RPO alert shock. I'm gonna go ahead and call that. I'm gonna go nickel. We'll go up against like a cover 0. Whenever I see a cover 0, this is what cover 0 looks like when all 4 of your defensive backs are kind of like in the same line. They're like 8 yards from each other. Then I wouldn't mind maybe going over the top, something like that, and see if you can get a 1-on-1 matchup, okay? Otherwise, or cover 1 can possibly do it. Like, let's go ahead and call a cover 1. I'm going to go back to this play, RPO alert shock. And again, this video is not all about just trying to show you how to run every single little play. I'm just kind of giving you some common sense things to think about. So we got to cover 1 anywhere in here. There we go. We got to cover 1 right there. Let's see if this works or not. So right now it shows it's cover 2. I would probably still run the ball here. But if you see that 1 high safety come out, then you can go over the top and look at this. Easy touchdown. Okay. It's just common sense stuff. Throw it where there ain't, All right, so that's RPOs in general. Again, there's 25 of these. Go with the routes that you like the best, and more importantly, go with the scheme of the blocking that you like the best. Okay, now I'm over here on the reads. I'll go ahead and tell you now, I like the reads a little bit better because I think the bubble's a little easier to work with. Just my opinion. That's what I enjoy. But if you're really good with those outside of RPO read screens, then yeah, by all means, just go with it. But I like the bubbles as well because you can easily read that slot defender, see if he's covering him or not. Okay. So let me say, that is it for the RPO. So you got 10 plus 25, and I said there may be a play or 2 in here that are like in both categories, but you got 20 plus or close, at least 30 RPOs. This is your base run game. There are more RPOs than there are almost basic runs, and that tells you anything. So you just have to decide, do you want to do basic runs or do you want to do RPOs and let that be your base? You can do both, but then you got that option. Okay, so let's go back to the options. Now let's talk about actual old school option stuff. Okay, first of all, we got inverted veer. This is pulling action. This is gap scheme. So this is why I keep bringing this up. So if you're going up, this doesn't matter so much with Dynasty per se, but when it comes to going up against human opponents, imagine giving them that same gap scheme look all the time. Something they don't really enjoy, or maybe they don't like the zone running. Again, you're just kind of giving yourself the same feel. You're giving the defense the same look. So I want to bring that up. But this is gap option stuff. But power read, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I'm not the best at the read options. It's just not my thing. I struggle with them. But you got 3 of them here. You got read option. I'm going to skip load option. We're going to go 18 read options. So any type of option you're going to do here is going to be from your read options, more than likely. I'm going to go ahead and call one. And I'm not quick enough. Maybe I'm just getting old. I'm just not quick enough to read that defender quickly. And I'm so used to the NCAA 14, they reverse the buttons on them. But normally what I've done is if I see a one high safety, I usually keep it with the quarterback and I try to pick up whatever I can. Now that one didn't work out very well, but I'm gonna do, okay, another one high look. I'm gonna keep it. Does that work? No, it didn't. Either way, forgive me. Again, it's just not my strength. But if you're gonna do any type of option, this is where you do it here with read option. Okay, you got 18 of them. I'm gonna go back to load option. So load option, speed option. This one's a little bit more my speed, more or less. I feel a little bit more safe with these than I do the basic read option. I think I can read it a little bit better, and I can get better yards out of it, something like this. Okay, again, if you're not a read option guy like me and you like to do speed, the good news is you got several of them. You got 8 speed options. Sometimes they call low, but most of the time they just call them speed. All right, so let's talk about triple option. Then we'll go back to shovel. So triple option, notice all of your shovels are in here as well. But you got basic triples in here, but a lot of it's wide receiver based, like a wide receiver slot option. And then you got your 2 shovels. So you go over to your shovel. Those are your 2 right there. I don't know how often you'll use these, but these are really nice wrinkles. And again, I'm not going to pretend to try to show you how to run these perfectly because I'm just not really good at them. Okay, so that is all of your options in general. RPOs, basic options. Use your old school options if you got a quarterback that can handle it. It's very simple. If you got a slow quarterback, don't run this stuff, you know. Stick with more of the RPOs. But if you got a quarterback that can run a little bit, that's just an amazing wrinkle added on to that. Because I'm here to tell you, Hendon Hooker, he ran some of this read option stuff to a T, and it was just magical to watch. It was just another thing for that defense to kind of keep up with. So if you got a quarterback that can run a little bit, I suggest you go recruit one. It just opens up the playbook more. So those are all of your options. Let's talk about the quick passes. So notice here, we got 6 hitches. I'm just going to go quickly through these. We got 3 Ohios, an Omaha, 5 slants, and 5 sticks. So we back to hitch. So what have I been saying when we went through all those formations? Hitches, curls, hitches. This is the #1 quick pass concept in the Veer and Shoot. But notice what they are. RPO hitches, RPOs. You got an all hitch, and you got an all hitch, but another RPO built into it. Okay, now you don't have to use this one. You can go old school like the rest of these offenses, do a lot more slant and stick. Those kind of go together. But I just wanted to point that out. Hitch is just a kind of a big deal in this offense. There's just so much of it in here. Okay, again, but notice bulk of this is mostly RPO stuff. So we got 3 Ohio. So if you go back and look, Ohio is just a go and an out route underneath it. So I'm going to go back over here. You only got 3. So whether you want to use these or not, it's up to you. Vertical tight end cross, a cross dig, and RZ stick and nod. But what's interesting is like the red zone stick and nod. That's not Ohio at all. I don't know why they call it that. Again, sometimes they categorize these in the weirdest of ways. Vertical cross is an out go, but that out route is very deep. So to me, that's not like a quick passing play, but they put it there nonetheless. You got 1 Omaha. Don't think of it as an Omaha. It's play action, yet they call it a quick pass. Does that make any sense to you? It doesn't to me. But it's a very good chance you're going to spend the bulk of your quick passing game in the slant and stick area. You got 5 slants and you got 5 stick. A lot of them are the same ones. For example, look, gun wide trips weak. You go over to the stick, it's the exact same play. So some of these are going to blend into each other. It's up to you which ones you like the best. I think slants work pretty well. I like stick. I'm a big air raid guy. I'm going to go ahead and call this stick over here on the left. So in this case, this is a dual concept. You got a slant combo on one side with a stick concept on the other. Let's say he got double teamed. That was a bad throw on my part. He still made the catch. But again, it depends on what you like. I'm going to go, he's wide open over here. We'll go kind of get a random. Not a bad, just very easy play there. So you kind of pick a side more or less, and you kind of work off of that. You can hit the out route if need be, or you could just go over the top. So what I suggest you do when it comes to your quick passing game, you pick the one you like the most, and that's the kind of the one you go with. If you want to keep it pure Veer and Shoot, I do more hitches than anything else. But notice they're still RPO based. All right, let's talk about the medium passes. Now we're starting to get into the bulk of the passing things. All right, so let's go here. So I'm going to go through just left to right. So the first thing we got is 17 plays that got a curl in it of some sort. Now when they think curl and or hitch. Look at Z replace. We got a hitch. Look at quick slant. We got a curl and a hitch. You keep on going. Curls, hitches, curls, Curls. And I'm a big curl guy. I love curls in general. I think they're great, like really good man beaters and whatnot. Let's see if I can get something going here like with this one. Yeah, just hit the curl. As soon as he makes his cut, you can get really good yards out of that. The hitches are, again, just a little bit quicker. This is a base of your medium passing concept game. I mean, you got to use these of some sort. There's just too much of it in here not to use. Okay, big curl guy, make it a point to use it in your playbook. Okay. Now let's go to double moves. Double moves, they just put any type of route that's got like a double move, like that Z Sluggo. They just kind of dump it here. I don't pay too much attention to this section of the medium pass game, but it's just up to you if you want to use them or not. Levels, it's drive on steroids. So drive is a drag and a dig on top of it going in the same direction. Well, levels is usually like a third drag, but we don't have a third drag in here or a second drag. It's all just basic drive to me. But we got 4 of them in here if you need them. And notice that's actually a high number for this type of offense. I'm going to go ahead and select double ends. So the whole offense, the whole scheme here is all about this left side. If you can get this to work. Go over here. If I can hit that dig. Again, you're just kind of reading that one side. A pre-snap breed may be at the right side. Like if you had that bump and run corner on the right, you may want to go over the top of the Thornton. Otherwise, you're going to go to probably somebody on the left. Again, the whole point of that concept is to hit that drag or that dig. So you got 4 there. We got 4 spots, but notice what's it saying here? All curl. Curls. Again, so this ain't going to be a big focus of your offense, but I just wanted to point them out. So this is the main one here. So you're going to do a lot of curls and you're going to do a lot of choices. Okay, so choices, I'll just go ahead and tell you now, option routes, you probably already know this, and anybody who's someone interested in the veer and shoot, option routes can get kind of finicky in this game. So I'm going to call like this deep choice here, the one in the middle. So you just don't know if they are going to run a curl like the guy over there on the right. So let's talk about the primary receiver, the deep choice on the outside. He can do a deep curl, a go route, or a post. So if he's going to run a post, there should be 2 safety split for him to do that. But sometimes he'll do it, sometimes he won't. Like right now, he should not do a go route. I would do a go route if that corner was up doing a bump and run on me. So in this case, I'm thinking he's probably going to do a curl. Let's see if he actually does that. Does he call a curl? He done a curl, so he done that correctly. But if you call something different, let's see what the next thing they call. Okay, kind of looks the same thing. We got a 1 high safety, so the post is out. The go should be gone as well because that corner's so backed up. He should go with a curl. And he did go with the curl. Now I'm going to get that picked off. I just done that on purpose, just kind of show you a point there. So now we got a 2 high safety look with a bump and run. So this tells me he'll either do a go or a post. Let's see which one he does. He went with a go route. Nice. Easy touchdown. Really cool. Okay, let's do that one more time. 1 high safety with a backup corner. That tells me he's probably going to do a curl. Now that's backed up. I'm going to have to go to somebody else. You always have to go to a backup option if need be. But he did do a curl, so he done that correctly. Now, I've been told, I think it's based off the wide receiver awareness. So if you're going to use these option routes, I think it depends on the wide receiver and how smart they are. But I'm here to tell you this PA choice deep stuff, that's hard stuff. You really got to pray. This is the hardest part of the offense, in my opinion, is getting good with all these choice plays. And there's tons of them. And there's 2 types. And there's 2 categories with 2 sister versions of that. So the first thing we have is, let's talk about the slot version. So we got slot choice. Slot choice is your slot receiver running an option route of some sort. Then you got a play action version of that over here on the right, PA slot choice. So again, this offense is built off of running the ball, which means you're going to do a lot of play action. So you're probably going to use more of the PA slot choice than you would of the slot choice, if that makes sense. There's nothing wrong with doing the drop back version. I'm just here to tell you there's a lot more play action in here than there are drop backs. Okay. Then you got the outside deep choice, but they just pretty much call it deep choice. So here we got a play action deep choice. Notice technically all these routes are doing an option route of some sort, but the one on the far right, it's an outside receiver. Well, if you go to, there we go. There's a PA deep choice. I think we got a deep choice somewhere. There we go. So deep choice out of gun wide offset. Our outside receiver on the right, that play's designed for him. I'm going to go ahead and call that one while we're here. Let's just look at it. So we got a 1 high look. And we got a corner that's backed off. This tells me he'll probably run a curl. Let's see if he does that or not. and he ran the curl. Now, he'll probably get picked off. Yeah, I threw that on purpose just to kind of prove a point. But either way, so now we got a too high look. Technically, I think it's cover 0. He may go over the top. Let's see what he does. He went with a post. Don't know if that was a good option for him to do a post. I probably would have done maybe even a curl. I don't know. Again, this is why I'm a little hesitant to be fully trusted in these option routes, but I hope you get the idea of what we're doing here. So again, you got a slot choice, you got deep choice, you got the play action versions off of all of that. And this is what the bulk of this stuff is, either a slot or a deep choice off either side. It depends on what you like here. Okay, now some people aren't real big option route people at all, and you don't have to use these if you don't want to. For example, look at this choice of this play over here on the left. Gun wide stack, fake screen go. There's not an option route in there whatsoever, but they call it a choice play. To me, that's not a choice play. So that's just something to keep in mind, okay? All right, so we got drive. We talked about that. There's only one play there. You only got one mesh, and it's at a goal line, so I doubt you'll ever use this unless you just like that play and it works well around that type of situation. We got a couple shallow crosses, but notice what they are. Deep choice, deep choice, deep choice, deep choice. At least with these, if you like that shallow cross where you got the drag and it did go in the opposite direction, that's like the opposite of drive, then you can definitely ignore the option routes on the outside if you want to. You can just stick to the middle ones if you need to. It's just up to you how you want to do that. Just probably get picked off. Yeah, I read that one wrong. Either way, I hope you get the point of that. You don't have to use the option routes if you don't want to. You can also do the hot routes. Like I can go deep choice. You can actually make the decision for them. So for example, like we got an option route, we got choice routes technically on the outside, but let's say I really want to run a go route with square. I'm going to hit triangle, I'm going to hit square, I'm going to hit go, and that should go like a fade route, kind of sort of. Then I can do something like this, and then I can go over the top. At least I know what he's going to run. Again, I don't know how familiar you are with option routes, if you feel comfortable with them or not, but it's up to you how you want to go about doing that. So we got a slot cross and we got a bunch of smash. Actually, we don't have a whole lot of smash here. We only got 6 of them. The reason why there's not a lot of smash is because smash, if you think about it, it usually have your slot receivers usually running like an angle route, a flag, or even corner routes from the outside. You can't run smash when you're split out so wide with the receivers. That's why there's not much smash in here. So that's the medium stuff. Let's talk about the deep. And what's interesting is we've already seen a lot of this stuff already. We got switch, but guess what? It's still PA choice deep, PA choice deep. We've got some wheels. This is old school run and shoot. Especially that wheelie's over there on the left. I'm gonna go ahead and call that because that just looks a lot of fun. So then you got, your wheels. Again, this is old school run and shoot. I see my tight end wide open, going to get 6 points right there. Just really fun stuff. Again, what's good about this is you don't have to worry about option routes. Again, that's just something to think about. If that's your kind of deal, I suggest you pick one or the other, whatever again, it all comes down to what you feel comfortable with. So you got 6 of those. You got a divide. You got a double post. I don't see a double post anywhere, so why did they put it there? I have no idea. You only got a flood. You got 8 verticals. These are pretty much your all-go type stuff. I don't know how often you'll use these, but if I suggest you use any of them, I'd probably do like the trips version because you got something better to work with just beside all 4 go routes. You got 3 meals. Not sure if you'll use these a whole lot. You got a couple Portlands. You got shot plays, and shot plays are usually play action over the top, but guess what? PA deep choice. It's the same stuff. Play action, play action, play action. And you got 6 wide cross. So pretty much it's just a slot receiver running a crossing route of some sort. I think you're going to use these quite a bit because there's no option routes and the route spacing is excellent. I'm going to go ahead and call this one. I went with gets a cover 0. This probably ain't going to work. We'll do this anyways. I'm probably get sacked. And I've done a pump fake. That was my fault. Either way, I suggest you use some of these. These are good starter ones. And I'm going to cover that at the end of this video, kind of which ones to really look at and how to kind of game plan and everything. So that's your deep passes. There's not a whole lot there. You're going to do the bulk of it in the medium pass. But again, it's all just choice routes and curls. Curls and choice and curl with all this stuff right here. All right, it says we got 3 play actions. Now, the way this game categorizes play actions, it's really goofy. They understand boots. So boot is just a quarterback or doing a boot action to one side. But notice these are all from those bigger formations. Technically, yeah, eye tight and then goal line. Then you got slide. You only got 1 of those. But we got so much more play action. We already know this by now. And we're going to get to that here in a minute. And it says we got 18 screens. But we got more than that. But notice that they throw a bunch of RPOs in here. It says we got 7 flanker screens. which is pretty much an outside receiver screen. This time we got a slot screen there, but again, it's just more receiver screens. That's all that really is. Then you go to your true bubbles. Again, you may like the bubble side of things, but what's interesting is you got RPO Alert Shark. That's not a bubble, so I don't know why they threw it there. I just kind of want to point that out. But it says we got 10 of them in here. Again, it's the same RPOs and such for the most part. Then it says we got one true halfback slip screen. But now let's talk about the play types. This is the better way to find the screens and the play actions you're looking for. If you go up to pass, there's no play in here that's going to be categorized in multiple categories in this section. So you go over to pass, I'm going to go to the very far right. Look at screens. We technically got 12 screens that are not RPO based. They don't throw any RPOs right here. These are your old school screens. Okay, so if you like those, go for them. My guess is you're going to do more RPO screens than anything else. But if you need old school screens, you know you got 12 of them in here. Okay, now look here. We got 44 play actions, but we've already seen every one of these. Every single one, we've already looked at them. Slot choice, deep choice, slot choice. Then we got more simple things like PA double post where you don't have any option routes and such. But this is like the bulk of your passing game. You run and you do play action. A ton of play action. And this doesn't even include the RPOs, which is technically like a play action play. Okay. Now you go over to the shotgun pass. It just tells you these are your drop backs. And we got quite a few. It says we got 78 of them. But there are a lot of it. It's the same 3 or 4 things over and over again. But between that and all those RPOs and play actions, you got a good balance there. I'll just go ahead and tell you that right now. So what I suggest you do with all these, you just have to decide, are you an option route guy or are you not? If you are not, run more plays like X replace over here on the right. It's much simpler to keep up with. Now, option routes from like a halfback, I think those are okay. There's not too bad. And it's a blue route, which means it's a delayed route. Wheelies, all 3 of these plays are simpler. I suggest you start there first. And then if you want to do the option route stuff, you definitely can do that there. Okay. Standard, that just means any under center drop back. You only got one. And then you got, it says that there's apparently 2 quick passes. Why they call these quicks and not those other ones we looked at earlier, I don't know. But I think these quick passes are pretty much quick plays that are from under center. I think that's how they categorize them. Okay. Now runs, we've looked at these in a different way. We're going to look at them here in another way. So we got 28 inside handoffs. Okay. So the bulk of your run game is going to go in between the tackles, but it will probably be from your RPOs more than anything else, if I had to guess. If you got your 3 outsides, you got those 3 pitches we looked at, those 6 counters, those 3 draws. Fullback runs are from the bigger sets, and you got a couple of just old school QB runs like QB blast from gun 5 wide. I'm gonna go ahead and call this. So there's no reading here. All you're doing is just going up the gut and trying to pick up whatever yards you can with the quarterback. I mean, that's as simple of a run play as you can do with your quarterback, but you do got one of those. I think the other one was a draw. No, it's a QB sneak from goal line, which you may never use. Okay. Now we got 33 total true options. Again, we've already looked at all these, but you got 33 of them. That's a lot. That's a big number. This is a big part of the offense. If your quarterback can handle it, pick the concept that you like the most. Is it read? Is it speed? If you like a couple of the triples, like the shovel and the slot option, you can definitely do that. And then we got 35 RPOs total. So kind of peak, that's what it is. I couldn't think of the word earlier. It says we got 8 reads, we got 2 peaks, and we got 25 alerts. Okay, so the bulk of your offense starts here because it's got the runs and the screens built into it, and the Veer and shoot is so screen heavy. So kind of keep that in mind. So you're going to spend the bulk of your time in the RPOs, and then specials, all your special team stuff. Okay. So another thing we're going to look at is by player, and then I'm going to just kind of get some things up. So let's go over to players. So I don't know if anybody's ever looked at the player side of things and how they goes about doing it. So if you notice when you go to any of these plays, it doesn't matter what they are. Every single play pretty much has a red route. That's a primary receiver or the guy who's supposed to get the ball. So you notice PA post curls, the curl on the left. Technically, that play is designed for him, even though there's a curl on the right that does the exact same thing. So that's kind of what that means. So you go back over to player. What it does, if you notice, who's your top player at the very top? Dylan Sampson. He's your #1 skill player. When I say skill player, I'm thinking halfbacks, fullbacks, tight ends, and receivers. He's 93 overall. Your next guy is your quarterback. Then you got Squirrel White, your top receiver. Technically, I got him in the slot because that's how Hype will put him there. You got Brew McCoy as your technically your number one receiver in the depth chart. Then we got another guy and another guy. So again, they just do it by overall. But when you go and select one of these, it's going to dump every single play designed for that player. This is pretty handy if you're trying to find a certain type of concept, but you're not sure where it may be in the concept or the play type section. Here you can look and say, hey, do I have any plays for my halfback that goes to him in a passing way, like the halfback slip screen? You keep on going. Do we got any more pass plays in here? Another halfback slip screen. Do we got anything else? Fake screen cross slip. That's for the halfback. Then we got, let's see, halfback cross screen. Then we got a halfback swing. That play's designed for him. We got sweeps, and the rest of it is going to be runs. So all those basic runs to the halfback are going to be dumped here. Again, along with any pass play that goes with that guy. So let's look at the quarterback. This one's another important one to look for. They're going to dump all of the option plays in here because technically he could run the ball, but they're also going to dump all of your QB design runs. So if you go like to the very bottom of the list, there it is, QB blast, you know, from gun 5 wide receiver, which we just looked at earlier. There's that QB draw from gun 5 wide receiver. Okay, so all your options of basic QB runs will be dumped here under the QB player, whoever. Hopefully he's one of your top 3 or 4 guys, of course. But what's the only downside to these is when you look at the receivers. I'm going to go ahead and select this one. What's a good example? Okay, so this is a good example. So I selected Squirrel White. He's technically our number 3 guy on our depth chart in the receiver group. So you look at gun wide. Let's see. I'm going to go back. You look at gun wide stack. You look at that, I'm going to go ahead and select that. We'll go up against something random. And you back out and you look right here. So what makes his dig route, the red route on the left, any more important than the one on the right? It's a mirrored concept. It's the same concept on either side. There's no one better side or the other. So why? I guess they just had to pick a receiver to put a red route on. So don't take those types of plays too seriously. So any type of drop back is some play actions, I suggest you wouldn't bother with those. But you go back to the slot, the squirrel wide here. Hitch Mills, it's an option route. I guess that's going to him. But again, there's no reason why his route's more important than the other 3. They just named that play after that route. So I guess therefore they had to put the red route on him. What about all hitch? We got 3 little hitch routes on the right. Why is his more important than the next? Maybe it just depends on who designed this play. Maybe they were thinking, hey, I'm going to go ahead and select this while we're here. Maybe they're thinking, hey, maybe we need to read inside out. So if they want Squirrel White to be my first read, maybe I need to look at the second one and then the outside guy. Your pre-snap read may need to be just slant on the left, but if you don't like that, if he's outnumbered, as you could tell, I probably wouldn't go to him. Then I would just look at the hitches. Let's see, he's not open. Nope, I can go to this guy though. So maybe that's another way to look at it. It's up to you how you want to do that. So if you're really dependent on the red primary receiver, you may want to look at him first. So that's one positive to it, I guess. Look for that one first and then work your way the other way. So you got to read your eyes. You got to train your eyes to go from one side to the other. Like X under, for example, here on the far right. Let's select that play. Let's go up against a random nickel. You notice here, so who's our primary receiver? Apparently it's a little dig route. So does that tell me I need to read left to right? You can do that. Now you got a couple go routes on the right. If you had like a bump and run, like if that corner on the far right was up on Thornton Jr., maybe I just go to him out of the gate. It looks like they're going cover 0 regardless, looking at the 4 defensive backs. So what I can do, I can maybe go to my tight end go, do something like that. That's just a good defensive play. So we can do this again. Looks like they're doing like a cover 2 possibly. So at this point, maybe you want to go to that dig route first. Okay, you go to dig route. Is he going to be open? If not, you may have to back out. Let's see, anybody else open? I'm just going to run with it. I didn't see nobody open, so I'm just going to get some yards out of it. So that's the only big positive to those red routes, especially from receivers. You want to train your eyes in that direction. Now, what they're going to do with all these choice plays is they're going to, any type of choice, like PA slot choice, they're probably going to call the primary receiver by that name, slot choice. So he's going to be your red guy. You're going to look at him first, and then you're going to move on from other guys after that. Either way, you do not have to use this section at all, but I just wanted to point it out that this can be kind of helpful if you're looking for certain plays for certain players. Because if you only got one great player, like I got an amazing halfback, let's go here, let's just run the ball with them or do whatever. Okay, players over plays more than anything else. All right, so that's pretty much it for this entire playbook. The one thing I just want to mention is I'm going to go back to gun wide, for example. So when you're going through here and you start off whatever play you got, like I'm going to go like a PA deep choice, for example. One thing I have not mentioned yet is how you handle your camera. So this is a bit of a problem with the Veer and shoot. This is a reason why you don't see a lot of players run this type of scheme. They can't see what's going on. Now you got a couple options here. You can hit the D-pad down arrow to the hit it down enough times it comes to this. This helps a little bit. They actually fixed it a little bit where you can see everybody at this point, or you can go back to where you were and you can hit the coach cam, which is circle, and then you can snap the ball. It's up to you how you want to do that. I just wanted to point that out. This may get picked off. That's okay. So go with everyone you like. I've kind of gotten used to doing this because I'm so used to going there and then kind of looking from here. But there's nothing stopping you from doing this and then looking that way as well. It's up to you how you want to go about doing that. Okay, so one last short thing before we leave is just how you call plays. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but what I suggest, when you're putting your playbook together, you think concepts first, and then you think, who are my best players, and you work off of that. So when you think concepts, what are your best ones that you want to run? When you go to your runs, are you going to be a gap or a zone scheme? If you're going to be zone, stick with the inside zone and outside zone. If you're going to do power or a gap, do power, counter, sweep. And if you're going to be very RPO heavy, which you will because there's so much of it in here, go with that. Pick those RPOs that have those schemes, pulling or run schemes in there. Okay. So what you should do is just pick your 10 or 12 or so concepts and just work off of that. And then from there, look at your roster. My 10 or my 11 best players are 11 personnel. So I'm going to do the bulk of everything out of 11 personnel. So I'm going to go PA slot choice. And then so you pick a play here and you run the play, and then you do a hurry up, no huddle, however you want to go about doing that. And then you're here, and then you just keep going through here. Then you can, it's up to you what you're going to do with your audibles. But I'm just kind of bringing it up. All of this works together. Your scheme, your concepts work together, your personnel runs together, and that's what makes this offense so much fun. It's very simplistic in how it blends all that stuff in. All right, so I hope this video helped. We went about an hour 15 into it. At least you got a really solid idea of what a veer and shoot offense is supposed to do. It's just a matter of practice and getting out there, picking the plays you like the most, especially if you're not an choice option guy, but you really want to run non-option stuff. Do motion slot cross instead of deep choice until you get comfortable with those option routes and you start using those. Again, practice makes perfect, and I think you're really going to enjoy this type of scheme. All right, guys, I'll talk to you later.